circles around.
No, that's fine. I can't find it. But she had 3 other topics. Because she has like a background that she went to school, like basically how dancing and theater impacted and changed her life, or she could do.
Wait, why can't I find? Oh, never mind.
And she brought up a couple of things. So basically, if you wanted to, we could pick some of the one of the. Why is this table so squeaky? I'm about to lose my mind. Stop it. Oh my gosh. This table is ridiculous. All right.
Lexi.
And Sarah. Tacos.
Surprise.
Is that why this? A little bit. My heart kind of went into my stomach there for a second. Wait a second. I didn't prepare for this.
So I think we should do this like a couple times a year. Because like this, I think the more we do it, maybe more questions will pop up. But like, these are hilarious. Like Zach said, some of them are serious, some of them are normal, and some of them I'm actually genuinely concerned for the well-being and mental state of the people who asked them.
Are you okay?
Sir?
Is there something?
Nope.
Are you okay? Do you need help?
Do you feel safe in your own head? Because I don't.
Oh, we're expert anxiety.
Yeah, right.
This episode is brought to you by Long Island
I'm
Iced
so
Tea.
good at anxiety, it's not even funny.
No particular brand.
Captain Morgan.
Are we? They're not our
More.
My leg is up on a barrel right now. Yep.
Pretty much.
Okay.
We were reading it yesterday.
What's
She's
our
like-
first question?
She's reading the outline. She's like, when did it start? The day I was born.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like, we could say, you know, because some people did put in more than one question. Some people didn't put their names. Some people have chosen to know who the people are.
I also see that there are some people that said they would submit questions.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for noticing that.
they're not there.
Yes. So,
Namely my wife.
yeah. Look where they were. Babe. Bab. Bab. Babe. Okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Lead us off.
Oh, my gosh.
First question from a guest on the podcast who's been here a couple times, Brian.
He's pretty fly for a Bry guy.
Brian. So, his first question is, what is the underrated worst part about being diabetics?
Wow.
So many
Yeah.
outside of just the limiting factor
But-
of like,
So
hey, there's only certain
I started realizing that I had it probably like,
apocalypse happens. You got
what would you say, like a year and a half ago? I started bringing
Nobody
it up,
wants to live through the
which I didn't even
apocalypse
realize
anyway.
it was anxiety.
No.
Remember for like a
No.
couple weeks straight.
personality. I'm like, all right,
I was like,
survivalist, let's
I just
go.
one day said to Zach, I was like, I've been feeling
No,
like
just send
can't
send me to
breathe,
heaven.
and like my chest is really tight, and I'm so nauseous, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, and Zach was like, dude,
Dummy.
that's anxiety. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is
Uh,
terrible.
It's like,
Yeah.
But then now that I
I have some
like can recognize the feelings, I realize that I've actually had it for a lot longer than I thought, and I just didn't know that it was anxiety. I've consciously had it for like a year and a half or two, and probably had it
mean,
much
I think-
longer.
If I look at the worst part,
Probably longer.
I don't really understand the underrated worst part because
No,
I don't
like
think
it.
anybody underrates diet. I don't know. I get what he's trying to say. but
I
I'm
feel like
confused.
my story's
just
kind of
dumb.
also like
But the worst
Lexi's,
part,
where
I mean,
I think I had
would
it a
either be
lot
the financial
I
aspect
think I had it as a kid.
or just
and I
how
never,
hard everyday
like,
life
knew it
is
was
sometime. Like
anxiety
just
until
having to do. Oh,
I
hold
would
on.
say like
I
probably
can't drive yet because my
mid-20s.
blood sugar's low, and if I
And
get into an
then
accident, even though I probably won't, if
I feel like
do,
I didn't even realize I was having
that's
physical
bad news
symptoms
bears for
until
my
I actually
license.
started going to
So
a therapist.
that's what I would say it is
which
for me.
I'm sure we'll
But
talk about later.
like right now, my diabetes is under
But
control.
she
I'm
started
handling it well,
asking
but I'm
me
still
when you're
paying
having these feelings,
hand
because
over
I knew what I was
fist
feeling,
for care
and I knew
in
I
this
was having
country. So
anxiety.
I'd
and
have
she was
to
like,
go with
when you're
right
having these
now,
feelings, like what
as
physical
a
symptoms are you having? I'm like,
30-year-old
I don't
diabetic,
know.
it would be
She's like,
financial.
think about it.
Financial burden.
Like, what are you feeling physically?
I'm like, man,
I was like, I feel like a pit in my stomach, and
Yeah.
I feel nauseous, and my heart's racing, and I feel like I can't breathe. And she's like, okay. So that's anxiety. Like, it's just crazy
Ryan
how it,
also
like,
tagged
manifests physically.
a
Yeah.
question onto this. Why are your fantasy teams so bad? He is, of course, referring to
Yeah. So I feel like I've had it for a really long time, but like didn't like recognize it as anxiety.
enemies.
until probably my 20s.
And that was for me too. Like I remember like
And
sometimes
Brian,
having
I
those
think,
feelings.
has
and
the best record in the league
when
right
I
now.
started to recognize that it was anxiety, I was like, but I'm not anxious about anything.
He's so
I
cool.
don't get it. And then getting into therapy too.
Listen,
like, I know we'll talk about it, but
I had Justin
That's when she
Jefferson.
started
I got
telling me, like,
Kyron
you don't
Williams,
have to,
both
like,
injury
realize
reserve.
that there's
Kyron
anything
Williams
wrong
injury
with it. It's
reserve
just
out
your
of
body's way of,
nowhere.
like,
Thank you a
telling
lot
you.
for
It's
nothing,
like,
Sean
oh,
McVay.
wow.
Idiot.
Anxiety is crazy.
And I just had underperformers and injuries, and every time I pick up somebody, they get injured. Like, and for everybody to understand, it's a 8-man league. So if you score less than 110 points a game, like you have no shot at winning. So, oh yeah, Zach Jenkins had one of the first time, yeah. And
and I'm number 3 in the league.
what's your realization that players get injured all the time?
Yeah, I did not realize how often people get injured. And like, also, I'll say this: like, I'm a football fan, but I'm a fan. Up until this point, I was a fan of like my team, so I know all the players on my team.
Go Kansas City Chiefs. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I realized how little I knew about the NFL and players in the NFL as a whole. So when I dreamt about my managerial decisions after that,
Probably the best in the league. I would honestly say the best in the league.
because
I
I went from being
on the bottom.
projected to end
wow.
up 6th to now some of the people that were projected to be like 1st or 2nd.
Hi,
Like,
it's me.
well,
On the problem, it's
and
me.
both my in-laws, both my brother-in-laws were projected to be top, and they both have worse records than they have exact opposite records.
Yeah. So yeah, our teams aren't so bad. You're just dumb.
Listen,
How's that?
just because you drafted Tyreek Hill, who has had like multiple 50
Do you know
point
why
games,
that you
Not to harp
Tried
on
to just
fantasy
live with
football,
it
but do you
instead
remember
of,
that
like,
one time Brian
figuring
offered
out?
you AJ Brown for
it
DeVonta Smith
just
and you told
was
him
just a
no?
thing
How dumb do you
that
feel?
you just had to live with?
see, like,
Like stupid dumb head idiot face?
it was week 3
Yeah.
because DeVonta Smith had 2 decent games.
Yep.
AJ Brown had just
Yep.
done nothing.
Yep.
And then ever since
Right.
then,
Wow.
it's been the
Yeah. That's
Right.
got to make you feel great.
I done screwed up.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right. What's next?
Hold on, I'm checking off.
Yeah, I had to check them off as we go.
Do you think it was because once you found out like this is anxiety, it was just like,
Okay.
was there like a
There's
kind of like you know how
Alright,
if you had
the
like
top number 13.
medical problem,
from Michaela.
you would treat it with medications or whatever? Do you think that you were just like,
'Kay.
oh, it's anxiety, so that's what it is. There's nothing you can really do about it. So you just kind of have to learn to live with it, type of thing, or
Would Zach vote for Zach, Mr. Sexy Coffee,
yeah,
if he ran for president, or
Okay.
vice versa? So
right,
I'll
right.
say
Is part of it
I
just
think we
because
both
of
have
the age that
pretty
you were
similar
too? Because you were like
viewpoints,
early teen, not early teens,
Yep.
but like
standings. So
mid-teens and
absolutely I would vote
I don't know.
for Zach. I mean, I would have to see like, hey, what his platform to be, but from what I know of him so far, yes, I would vote for Zach.
And I would vote for Zach blindly, regardless of his platform, because I'm a true ride or die.
Just based on friendship.
Yeah, I mean, but also to save our friendship, I could also say like I would not you.
That's the thing. I would never run for president.
Yeah.
But we could do like
I mean,
president VP combo.
Partly because
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was.
And then like I
anxiety,
could go hunting in the woods and accidentally shoot somebody.
I mean, it worked for one vice president.
Big dick energy Cheney.
Well, I think for me, because
we
it
can't
was
leave
like
that in. Okay.
such a specific thing that we were like going through that I was like, well, obviously it's normal for me to feel like this. So it's fine. It's not anxiety. It's just because I'm going through
Let's
this
see here.
traumatic event in my life. But
I like this whole
now I
hopping around
realize
thing. I'm gonna go back.
it's
I'll
not
go
just
to number
because of
2
this one
though.
thing. There's
Your
other
favorite
things
book
going
/
on in my life.
podcast you're going
That just
through.
kind of like exaggerated it.
Yeah,
or, like,
Yeah,
exactly.
like,
That's,
what did-
I think that's the thing
outta
that like
here.
actually made me realize I actually had
What
anxiety.
a silly question.
So like, not that I want to be like going through. Can I
It
say
is.
why? So my anxiety, obviously, when I started realizing it was when we are actively going through infertility treatments and stuff. And anyways, no, but like, not that I'm like happy that we're going through this, but part of me is like, if we haven't been going through this, I probably never would have like
Right.
realized there's other things in my life that I have anxiety with, and I never would have like started therapy and all that stuff. So I'm like
I feel you.
trying to look at the silver
Yeah.
linings of things.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yep.
That's good.
I'm only reading one book currently.
No.
'Cause I've been
So
told to.
when I realized
So-
like, oh,
but
like
before
this is,
that,
I have really bad anxiety. I had been
was-
going through like
Like my favorite
a
style is like
bad breakup
fantasy,
at the time.
sci-fi.
And I
And
lived
so, like,
with my best
I love
friend
reading
who was a
through,
mental
like,
health
the
counselor.
Warhammer
She's a
40K
licensed mental health
novels.
counselor. And I knew I was having like horrible anxiety, and I was just like
Yeah,
a mess. I was
like,
crying all the time.
I started with,
I
like,
was
the
just,
Blood
having mental
Angels.
breakdowns, and
But they were just always my
she
favorite
was like,
faction.
maybe
So like,
you should think about talking to somebody. And I was like, no.
I could
you're a
always
mental
read-
health counselor. Like, I'll just
Could
talk
always
to
read
you.
anything
And she
more.
was like, it's different. Like, I'm your best friend. Like, it's not the same when you go to see somebody who's completely unbiased, who doesn't know you, who, you know, is actually counseling you and doing therapy with you. I'm not your therapist. I'm a therapist, but I'm not your therapist. So I was like, no, it's fine. I'll just talk to you about my stuff. And then it took me like a couple of years to actually be like, okay, I'll go see somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I was ready. I don't think I thought like I don't need it. Like I said, I was just like, oh, I can just talk to you and I'll be fine. So I think I just kind of kept pushing it off. And I also feel like back then, like it wasn't that long ago, but I feel like there was also kind of a, I don't know if it has to do with the way that like we grew up and stuff, but there's like a big like stigma with like mental health. Like you don't really talk about it, and like I feel like, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but
listened to recently.
okay. So the church that we grew up in, there was a huge like stigma around mental health.
Their
and it was
episodes.
very much so like if you have depression or you have anxiety, then like you don't have the joy of the Lord in your heart.
In terms of like,
And I remember like there was a couple people in our church that actually like pretty much got like shunned because they like came out that they had depression or anxiety or
I
something.
always
like
forget
that.
the other guy.
Yeah. So it was like not really like talked about. Not that I was in that church at that point in time, but I think it was just like the way we grew up.
Yeah.
It was just like
As is.
kind of get over it. And
And I don't even necessarily feel like my parents agreed with that at all. So, but still, part of me was still like, oh, well, this is,
Yeah.
I shouldn't be feeling like this.
It's just
so.
fun. I mean, you have 3 like comedic powerhouses
Right,
on a
yeah.
podcast, bringing in a guest that's sometimes a comedic powerhouse and sometimes
Right.
and there
not.
was a lot of like, even if you were struggling with stuff, like basically put on a good face and
Yeah.
sweep everything under the rug. And like if we act like it didn't happen, then
Right.
like it didn't
Oh
happen.
yeah, you turned me on to
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
So it started out right.
Yeah.
Must have missed that one.
Yeah.
So he would. It started out. He would do it for like historical purposes and stuff, and have other veterans on to talk about, you know, their experiences and kind of detailing. You know, and he's had like World War II veterans. He's had, you know, more recent with the, you know, veterans from that. And then he
Yeah.
ended up branching out
Yeah.
into other stories where he had them like, so the guy from
Right.
that actually, so he had him on. That's
Yeah.
Gerard Butler?
No. No, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's so helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Robotics world, like cartels,
Think about something else.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. Oh,
kind of the political world.
thank you so much. That.
Really helpful.
Yeah.
But I actually think like before I realized I had anxiety and like not also I think too my anxiety and your anxiety are two very different things, just like mine
Yeah.
and yours are very
Right.
different. But I remember like when yours was super, super bad. And like we were like pretty newly married. And I remember like
Yeah. It's
not
not like the news
understanding,
that
like,
we know it today. More.
what it was like for you, and I would try to be like helpful, realizing now that was not helpful. But I would be like,
Yeah.
it's fine, like just like I would be like, just don't think about it, or like try working out, or like obviously those things do help.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I realize like saying those things makes it
Right.
worse because you're like, obviously I'm trying to do all those things and I physically can't. And I feel like
Where we
if you
had
don't
now,
have
boy.
anxiety, you don't get that you like literally cannot help like what you're thinking and what you're feeling.
Uh-oh.
As much as you try, like there's literally nothing that you can actually do.
That was a huge adjustment for Justin too.
This house? No.
He would say things like that all the time. Just be like, just think about something else.
And
or-
especially for
It'll
Justin
be okay.
too, he's so like,
Yeah.
whatever, everything's fine.
yeah, he would just be like, oh, if I'm thinking about something, I'll just think about something else. And I was like, that's
You're like,
great.
my brain does not
but
work that
my
way.
yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So it was like a big adjustment, but he's very supportive now,
Yeah.
obviously.
Mhm.
But it takes a while to like actually understand and comprehend and
And I think too, like I said, just like recognizing that just because your anxiety feels one way, it's not going to be like that for somebody else, and
Right.
not trying to be like, oh well, this worked for me, so just do this because
Those
that
little
doesn't
things,
help
like, oh, it's
either.
$5, $10. I'll get that. And then be like,
Actually need this.
I mean, I had definitely support from my best friend. Justin was like, sure, whatever, therapy, go for it, you know. I actually didn't start going to therapy until I would say probably like 6 months to a year after I started going out with Justin. So I think it was actually more than 2 years. Yeah.
Which is funny because then I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was actually because I got to the point where my anxiety was so bad because of what had happened in my previous relationship that I
That's
didn't
good.
want. I was like, I don't want this to carry into this relationship. And I don't want to take things out on him or like, you know, I don't want to.
I mean,
Thanks.
it's going to be anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, no, like,
Yeah.
as a teenager, probably
Right.
sports jerseys. I have so many sports jerseys, and I haven't worn any of them hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was really supportive of me going.
Yeah.
And therapy is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Like, it is like life changing. Like I remember the first session I went, I was like of course I had so much anxiety going into my therapy appointment. And I remember telling my best friend, like, all I hope she doesn't ask when I walk in there is, so why are you here? I was like, because if she does, I'm going to lose it. And I walked in and I sat down. She's like, hi, so why are you here? And I just bawled my eyes out. And I was just like a complete wreck. And I called Katie, my best friend, after my first session. And I was like, that was the worst thing. I cried through the
That's good.
whole entire appointment. And she was like, it gets better, I promise. And it's just, yeah, my therapist is so awesome. Like, she does, I don't know if you guys, therapist does it, but she does like cognitive behavioral therapy where she teaches you how to like retrain your brain how to think.
FTALK.
It's like the coolest thing ever. Yeah. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
Go, and then this album came out. And it's a vibing album.
Go.
They intertwine.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to let you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I have especially because I don't really go for albums anymore. On big music, it's like I hear
Yeah.
a song from my favorite artist right now would be
For sure.
Man. No, I don't know the real Muffin Man.
don't either.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Um. Oh, I'm gonna knock this one out of the way right now. Why is relaxing in jeans so great? Path, it's not great, and you should probably seek some form of counseling. Number 10.
Why is relaxing in jeans so great?
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
Whoever said that is a psychopath.
Like
Yeah.
some athletic shorts or like sweatpants.
You did a good job.
I literally
of
just
covering
hang out
it.
in my house in my underwear
Right.
because I'm hot all the time. So why did I put clothes on? Nope. All right, your turn again.
Yeah.
I wouldn't choose if I'm like really wanting to. It's like sweatpants.
Do you think that also has to do with like, I don't know, this is just out there, but do you think that also has to do with like being a guy? Like you kind of have to just not show that kind of stuff, or the guys don't talk about that kind of stuff, or yeah,
Oh boy.
What question?
like your feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone would ask you. What question do you wish someone would ask?
What is that? Number 28.
Yeah.
What's a question you wish someone asked you? Not would ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What question
Yeah.
you wish someone asked?
Maybe I typed it down wrong.
Right. Yeah.
You wished someone asked you. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You wish someone to. You wish someone to. You wished. Oh my
Right.
God.
Wish well.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Like, do you want $1 billion?
Yeah.
Is that a viable answer? I wish somebody would ask me that. But I guess then they could just be asking me it and not have the means to fulfill
Super
it.
anxious. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
This is weird because then I have to like think
Yeah.
of my own question, and then nobody's asking me. I'll just answer my own question.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I wish someone asked me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to come back to that one.
Yeah. I'll have to think on that one. That's a good question. Again, from a
Right.
podcast
Yeah.
guest that has been on a couple times. Jonathan J. Lee.
Yeah.
Jonathan-
I think it was actually that
Jonathan
same
J.
day
Lee.
that you were like, all right.
What?
Yeah. I feel like meds are really helpful and they're great, but I feel like if you don't, like I said, that whole CBT thing before, like if you don't learn how to think the right way, the way my therapist put it is your brain is basically like a muscle, just like every other muscle in your body. So if you think of working out and you're training your muscles wrong, you're squatting wrong the whole time, you're deadlifting wrong, you're going to hurt your back, or you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over if you don't learn how to train the right way.
That makes sense for you.
And that's basically what your brain is doing. You think, oh my God, this is the worst thing every single time something bad happens. Your brain goes to the worst, spot. And then that's where anxiety comes from. And you're thinking, what if, and, worst case scenario, and what's going to happen. And every time something happens and that's how your brain reacts, that's just like the neural pathway that your brain takes every single time. But when you learn how to think the right way and you're training your brain the right way, you actually create like new neural pathways. And that's how your like brain starts to think the right way.
Two about the
It's really cool.
about the president, about this. That was great. Great.
For one celebrity, who would it be?
I would
Yeah.
trade my entire family for Thanksgiving dinner with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Like if he sent me an Instagram message and was like, "Hey, I
Yeah.
want you to come down to my home and have Thanksgiving with me and my family," I'd be like, "Okay." I'd leave Lex up here with her family. If it be,
Yeah.
Like, peace out, everybody.
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. No remorse. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Trying to think.
Yeah.
What celebrity?
Part of me wanted to do like
Yeah. I honestly did shockingly well when I first started going to therapy.
I forget one of the kids' names.
I did.
One of the
Electric
Is that
convulsion
way either Brad or Angela would have to come at the end of the night to pick them up.
No, I did shockingly well once I actually started CBT with my therapist. I remember after I don't know, 3 or 4 sessions, I pretty much cried through the first 3 sessions.
Yep.
Just cried the whole entire time. And then I remember after a few sessions I came in, she was like, "How are you?" And I was like, "I'm good." I did this and I did that, and I was telling her, and she was like, "You really just used what I told you and figured out how to make it work in your brain." And I was like, I feel like I'm the type of person that will just be like, you tell me what to do,
Right, yeah.
and I'll do it. But I couldn't figure out up until that point of I was like, I know I have anxiety, I just don't know why, and I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So once she told me, this is what you're gonna do, and this is how you're gonna think, and this is what you're gonna tell yourself, and this is how you're gonna act or whatever, then I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And it's just I mean, obviously I had to still keep going back for a while, but yeah, it just made a huge difference. I did also start taking Xanax. So that
I was
also
going to sell my wife up there.
not right now, but I do kind of want to go back on something, only because I had to stop taking medication when I was pregnant. And yeah, the postpartum anxiety was real. I think my biggest issue of not being on meds is I can make it work during the day and just stay busy and do whatever I have to do to keep my brain off of it. It's once my head hits the pillow at night, I am just thinking about everything and thinking and thinking and thinking, and my brain just won't turn off. So I think that's the biggest help that I think that's the biggest thing that meds are helpful for.
Yeah.
Is just it helps me turn my brain off at night to go to sleep.
All right.
Sleep was the biggest reason why I ended up going on medication in the first place, because my doctor would be like, "So are you sleeping?" I was like, "No." Takes me 3-4 hours to actually fall asleep at night. And she was like, "That's not normal."
Big spider pig. Oh, I mean,
Oh yes.
yeah, I'm gonna go with spider pig too. Why not? Somebody who's got 3 pigs tattooed on his arm, he has to pick spider pig, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't. I just had to stay busy and
Yeah.
keep my brain distracted in order to not have anxiety.
Which I feel was the opposite for you. Is I don't know. Like you said, you just needed to not be doing anything, because that would make you feel better. 'Cause
This
if you were too busy, or
has
you
been
were
a
doing
question I've
something
been
that would
wanting
actually
to
make your
double back
anxiety
to.
worse.
Oh wait, it's your turn. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh my
I was
god,
gonna say
the
we haven't heard
attitude
from you in a while.
coming off of him.
Me and Zach are just having our own conversation. Lexi's like,
See, you're not even ready.
I was not prepared.
ooh.
wow.
This one,
Nice. I like it.
the executive
Um,
producer. It's 2 questions in one. Miss
So I'm not
Executive
on medication.
Producer,
I just don't
Oh.
feel like I'm
I forgot to
that
space them
bad,
apart.
plus
That's my bad.
obviously going through.
That's what
treatments, you
happens.
Can't really be on anything.
So my wife,
anyways.
our
but I
executive
actually
producer is
remember,
currently
I think
out
it
of
was, your
state, and so this is
first
what
or
happens when
second
she's not here to
session
help me.
in therapy. You came home.
I
and
screw
you're
up her entry.
I think you
But
should
go ahead. Ask
And
the
I was like, no, I think I'm fine. I don't need it.
Why do we do that?
I know. I was like, part of me was just I know what my issue is, so I'm fine. Whereas you didn't know where your anxiety was coming from. So I was like, no, it makes sense that you need it, but I'm fine. And I wasn't against therapy, obviously, because I really wanted you to start going, because I knew it would help. But I was just like, no, I think I'm fine. And I think this was in April or May that you started going of last year. And I didn't start going until the end of August. So it took me a little while to be all right. Yeah.
See,
Nah,
I mean,
not
we're talking
really.
about a dream vacation.
You are wrong.
I'm
'Cause I
thinking like
remember just being like, no, I don't. I
a
think I'm
month or
fine. And then
2
I was
month
just like,
trip
the more I
around
thought about
Europe.
it, I was like, all right. So then I ended up emailing them.
Not
and
not
They
backpack.
got me in like a week or
like,
2 later.
Yeah, like if it's a dream vacation. If it's a dream vacation, I gotta imagine like I have the means to make it a dream vacation, like everything I could dream of. So I'm talking like
It's funny.
No, I
take the
remember
train
my first
from
session,
everywhere.
it was
I'm
the same
getting
thing as you.
driven
I was
around, so I don't have to
nervous
drive
about
in
it.
these
like,
foreign
to the point where I literally
countries.
almost canceled it because I was
Right.
like, I don't want.
I want to
do this.
visit
I don't wanna
everywhere
talk
over
about
here.
myself. I hate
So
talking
I'd love
about
to hit
myself.
up like soccer
I
matches
hate
in
talking about
England.
my feelings
See, I
with
love
people.
that. I love talking about myself.
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
talking
That's
about my
definitely-
feelings. I love
That's
talking about all
achievable.
that. But I was still like,
I just
She
don't
better
like
not
when
ask me
there's like
why I'm-
attention on me. I just don't like it. So I was like, this is literally an hour of me having to talk about myself. I was like,
Yeah.
first of all, how am I going to fill up an hour?
right.
Second of all, I don't know this person. Like, it's going to be
Right.
weird. It's going to be awkward. I don't want to cry in front of someone.
Yeah.
And then I got there. I don't think I cried the first session, but I
No,
left. And
I don't
was
think.
like,
I think you. I remember you telling me that you didn't cry.
But
either.
I remember being like,
Before I cut
like I
Zach
said, the
off.
first session. I don't think
Was
it was
will you get me another
like, she
drink?
just
No.
asked me, like, why I
Number
was there, all that
24.
stuff. And then I think it was my second one.
And it's a question I've
We,
been
like,
wanting to do
got
with you for a while
more
because
into, like,
it was
why I
in
was there and,
my
like,
teaser
the
episode,
infertility
which
part
came
and everything,
out
and I just
almost
remember like
5 months ago at
losing
this
it,
point.
and I was like,
Yeah.
I felt so
think it
much
came out in
better
July.
when I
Yeah.
left, and I was like, this is so weird because I
June?
like.
Oh, yeah, it came
I
out in
don't
June
like
'cause
crying in front of
July was
people.
real
I don't
episode.
even like crying in front of you.
So what made you guys want to start a podcast? What made Zach Jenkins want to join? So
Stop.
I mean, what made me
It's
want to
not
start
true.
it?
It's not true.
I wanted a hobby. I needed a hobby. Um,
It's not true.
I've wanted to for a
But I remember
couple
like
years, but I
going through
figured
that session
it would
and I
fail
was
and
just
nobody
like,
would
wow,
listen.
Like,
And
this is- I
then
feel
the
like this is
the
gonna be
more I
really
got my
helpful
anxiety
because,
under
like, all
control, the
things
more
that
I
was like, I shouldn't
realized
feel this
that
way. Like, this is
failure
dumb.
was
And she'd
just
be
me
like,
not doing it because
like,
I thought
it's
other
okay.
people
Like,
wouldn't
you
care
can
about it.
have these
But really,
feelings. It doesn't, there's
failure
nothing
is
wrong
just-
with you. And I remember
So that's a big thing with the church, right? So if you're praying enough and you're reading your Bible enough and you're in a good relationship with the Lord, then you won't have these feelings, right? Just pray harder. Just believe more. Just have more faith.
Yep.
Why is it then when people have cancer, they go to get cancer treatment?
Yep.
Or when you have an infection, you go to the doctor and you get antibiotics. Or when you have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like blood pressure problems, you get blood pressure meds. Why is it that you can go to the doctor and get help and get medications and all these things for physical problems, and you're not sitting here saying, oh, if I just pray hard enough, my blood pressure is going to go down?
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, I feel like mental health is I feel like people should go to I feel like everyone should, just the same way you go to your primary care doctor for a physical every year, everyone should have a mental health checkup. How's
Yeah.
it just to see how's your mental health, like just once a year even. And if you need it
Yeah.
more than that, then you need it more. But like it's the same thing with the doctors. You
Yeah.
go, you get checked up once a year just to make sure everything's good. And if there's problems or issues, then you can go more
Yeah.
or you know what I mean? Like that's what I don't understand. I guess I
And
don't
now that I'm
understand
in
part.
therapy, I totally like get that. Like before, I literally have never been against therapy.
Yeah.
But there was just a point in time where I was like, oh, I don't really need it. But now that I'm in it, I'm like, this is amazing.
It's
Like I
so
literally don't
amazing.
know how I've like gone this long without it. Like I
know.
think I've been going for almost a year at this point. And I'm like, I've cut back. Like I don't go as often
Right.
anymore. But like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just crazy.
Well, it's because the ones started getting into movies, and then the group just kind of fell apart.
Right.
Fair. I believe it's your question, Senor Yak.
Yeah. Right. It's so true though. I started going in 2018 and I was going, I don't think I ever went like every week. I think maybe every 2 weeks in the beginning. And then it was like after a few sessions of that then it was like once a month. And then it kind of just like spread out after a while because it got to the point where she was like, I don't think you need me as much anymore. But still, like when when you're going through things or like you're having a rough time, it's like so nice to be able to have someone that you can just go to and like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I started obviously going every week. And then I remember when I switched to every 2 weeks, I was like, I feel like I'm like in a spot where I don't need every week. And she was like, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. She's like, this is the goal. She's like, I don't want you to have to see me every week. She's like, that's
DC
the point
Universe
of therapy.
shows,
She's like, and eventually
movies.
you're not going to have to see me at all.
I do like them.
We're not
I
there
love
yet.
DC
No.
Comics.
So
Like,
I actually
the
went
Lois
a
Lane
few
special.
weeks ago.
But if we're talking about
And I
watching,
was like,
I definitely got to rule that one out too.
I was like, so I was actually thinking like a few days ago, like I feel like pretty good. Like I think I could switch to like once a month, and then I don't even remember what had happened. I don't know if like if it had anything to do
I
with
feel
the
like I want to
treatments
give
that we
two
were
answers
doing, or
for
if it was
this
just something else going on.
because
And I was like,
which is
yeah,
my favorite
there's
to watch?
no way that I'm
the
ready
answer's
to go
Harry
to once a
Potter.
month. And I
I
remember
will watch
going
Harry
in for that
Potter
session
all
and
the
just, like-
movies once a month
like
if you
unleashing
want me
all
to.
the things that I had been
But
storing
there's a
in my head for the
limitation
last
on them. So
3
for the
days,
rest
and
of
she
my
was like,
life,
you're like,
I
really,
mean,
like up here
I
right
can't
now.
imagine
It's
they'd
like,
ever get boring.
And then I
but
like by the end
they
of it,
probably
she's like, you seem
would.
better. I
But
was
by
like,
the
yeah, I
time I
feel a
hit,
lot better. I was
87,
like, yeah, I actually
88 or
was gonna
so,
ask you if I could go
So,
once a month, and she was like,
do I hedge my
I don't
bets and be
think
like,
we're
well,
there
now
yet.
I
I was
got to
like,
pick
nope,
stuff with
we
the
are
most
not.
content.
I am not ready
really
for
space it out.
Yeah.
But I
'Cause
feel
Marvel,
like the
you're
fact too that
talking
I
the
am able to, like,
cartoons, you're
recognize that,
talking
too, is, like, a
the
huge
MCU, you're talking
thing.
about the
'Cause
shows.
even she was like, I mean, that's good that
So
you like,
it's-
know that you're not there yet.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, for sure. Definitely not. But also, too, I think I started therapy thinking I was going to be, like, just talking about one specific thing.
Right. And you realize it carried
now,
into,
yeah,
like, other
I
parts of your life.
brought up so many other things going
Yeah.
on in my life that I didn't realize were actually causing me anxiety.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh,
Yes.
this is a huge thing in my life that's not good. So,
I never watched the Hobbit
Yeah.
trilogy, if I'm being honest with you. I heard I wasn't missing anything.
Yeah.
but I also remember, like, you at one point when you were in therapy, like, in the beginning. I was like, have you talked about, like, this and this? And you're like, no, I don't need to. And I was like, I feel
Yeah.
like you do.
Okay.
No, I know. But you're like, I don't need to ever talk about that in therapy. It's fine. And I was like, okay. And then you finally brought it up. And you're like, oh, yeah, so we finally talked about this. And she had a lot to say about it. And I was like, yup.
I feel like a lot of times you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
I remember, like, when I was talking about when my therapist asked me, like, physical symptoms, like, what are the physical symptoms you're having? And I never really recognized it. I think it's because I was having those physical symptoms for so long. Like, so what she did was after I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I do kind of have, like, a pit in my stomach. And I feel nauseous or, like,
Yeah.
I have a lump in my throat, whatever. She was like, I want you to think back to a time when you were a kid. Oops. I want you to think back to a time when you were a kid and you were having those same symptoms. And I was like, I don't know. Because I just had it for so long. I was just so used to, like,
The Star
it was
Wars.
just a normal feeling. So then once she really started, like, saying, go back and think to when you were having these symptoms most as a kid. And it was always when I was in trouble. I would feel a pit in my stomach. I would feel sick to my stomach. I would feel nauseous. I would feel like my heart was racing. It was always when I was in trouble.
Saving all the.
And so that I feel like that's when my anxiety, like, started.
Yeah.
And it just carried into adulthood and everything. And we kind of, like, connected stuff of, like, when I'm having anxiety, it's because I feel like I'm in trouble or something bad's going to happen or I'm going to get punished for something I did. Or even if I didn't do something wrong, I was having anxiety thinking that something bad was going to happen.
Yeah.
Or, like, you know, I was gonna be punished for some. Yeah.
No, but I know, like, my therapist
Right. And
does a
he
lot
backed
of,
it
like,
up with, like, scripture and everything. But, like, I know, you know,
like, she
a lot of
makes me
people
go
who
through,
believe,
like,
you know.
the what ifs of things.
Yeah.
I remember the first time we did
Yeah.
it. I can't even remember what it was about, but I remember just, like, crying through the whole thing. And she was like, this is good. She's like, but you need to, like, she's like, why, what is it that scares you? You need to, like, figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do this. And she was like, I don't care. You're doing it anyways.
Yeah.
But she was like, all right, so you're worried about this happening. What if it does? And I was like, well, then this is going to happen. She's like, okay. Then what if that happens? And I was like,
True
well,
believers, yeah.
then this and this. And then we just kind of, like, went through the whole thing. And I was like,
All right, so we got
Oh,
some
so, like,
hard-hitting
this is
we
actually
got
what
some
I'm worried
hard-hitting
about. It's
questions
not
out of the
actually
way
this
there.
thing.
Let's
and
lighten
so now,
it up.
like, a lot of
Let's
times
lighten
when
it up.
I'm having, like, anxiety about something,
I think it's
can
my
do
turn.
that,
You
and,
just
like,
did
it
the
doesn't always
philosophy
help.
one.
But a
So
lot
I'm
of
gonna go
times
down.
it
This
does,
was
and then I'm like,
submitted
all right, what am I actually
anonymously.
worried about?
In fact,
And it does
so you
seem to
could have
help
submitted
sometimes.
questions to the website, which
And
is
I
how I
remember
got a
telling
lot.
her,
you can put
couple
whatever you
sessions ago
want in
last
the
week.
name section.
So
You
I
didn't
was like
have
really
to put
worried
your
about
name.
this thing,
So
and
this
I like
person,
did the what ifs, and it actually helped. She
don't
was like,
worry about it in
She's
the
like,
name
kind of like I
section.
know what I'm talking about. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah, it is
question was,
crazy to, like,
who's
get to
been
the
your
root of
favorite
stuff.
guest
You're like,
so
okay,
far?
why am I
and why
actually
is it
feeling
Nate
this way?
Ryan?
Yeah.
Sincerely,
like,
totally not
Yeah, I'm
Nate
like,
Ryan.
oh, that makes
That
sense.
makes sense.
Well, anonymous.
Yep.
Because he went from guest to co-host.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, on a very real level,
The old
Nate
stigma.
listened to the anxiety episode. He wanted to talk about a depression aspect of it. Reach out to ask if he could come on and talk about it. Came on, and it's our second most listened to episode of the entire podcast. So he's definitely is a favorite. And he told me that he is starting his own podcast, which I think is cool. Something, again, same as me.
Well,
He
you
always
would
wanted
die.
to but never did it, and then kind of like was kind of like, oh, so Zach's doing it. Like, I can do it too.
Dying?
He doesn't have
But
social
not
media set
because
up or
you
anything.
purposely were
He's,
like, I don't need this insulin because. Yeah.
I believe
You're
it's
not-
the
haven't
518
hurt yourself.
catalyst.
Do you have thoughts? Do you have homicidal thoughts, suicidal thoughts?
Being mistaken though.
So for
But
listeners, just watch out for.
yeah, when
Once it's set up, we'll leave a link and we'll give him a shout out. Link to his podcast, all his pages.
yeah, but he's a great speaker, and he has a lot of friends with knowledge about different things. So I'm really super excited
Right.
for him to start making episodes, so I
Right,
can listen
yeah.
to him and maybe even get some tricks of interviewing and stuff like that. So Nate, you might not be the favorite,
Right.
but you're top 1.5. Top 1.5.
Only beat you out.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Anonymous. Anonymous. Yeah. Whew.
Yeah, it's a good point of
Anonymous.
you can't control it. I think that's
Yeah.
a big thing of anxiety is like because things are out of your control and we try to control things and we can't.
Yep. Which is very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone you had on the podcast so far are stranded on an island.
Okay.
Who gets what job?
What a fantastic
That
question.
is a great question.
Um.
You're not called dibs on hunting stuff.
Oh, absolutely. There's nobody else I would trust with that.
Fishing, I can take care of that.
I don't want to. This seems very presumptive, but I feel like I should be the leader.
You're like, I'll be in charge.
I think I just have great leadership skills, and I inspire
Executive producer.
and I inspire confidence. No, she can't make the hard decisions like I can, and I inspire confidence. Yeah. Wow, that went over easy. Alex Johnson is is the cook. Yeah. So, thank God we had a culinarily trained chef who went to chef school. No, went to culinary school.
Seriously.
I care way too much what people think about
I'm
me.
the same way.
Fruits and coconuts and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm sure you make something phenomenal out of it.
Yeah.
You do a great job.
Brian
Yeah.
Lawrence would be a meat shield because he's good at getting stabbed.
Well,
No.
no.
We have to start over.
All right, Brian, I think would be our tech innovative
You just heard him earlier this morning. He doesn't know anything about tech. What tech is on a desert island? Is a desert island? No, just island.
And your
What tech
life
is on an island?
together.
He's smart.
Yeah, I feel like he's definitely part of the brain trust.
Yeah, I was like, he's smart. He would come up with stuff.
Yeah.
Either that or we'll put him on the
Yeah.
planning committee for our rescue. Like, all right, buddy, you figure out how to get us off this rock.
Okay. What about Michaela? Because Michaela did an episode on Cocaine Bear. She was on the podcast.
I feel like her and Lex could just be the character. Like,
So sexist. You are so sexist.
no, it's not.
Oh my gosh.
They're the nicest.
Oh
take care of
my god. Oh my god. No, but you're right though.
It's not a sexist thing. It's just they're the nicest. I feel like
I've never met a person who you could tell to do something
he'll figure it
and he'll just figure it out. He'll have no idea, and he
I think
like
friends
you
have
come
been
up with
really
plan A
supportive.
and maybe plan B. John has already gotten to
certain,
plan
obviously,
F, M, and
My
Q
cousins I'm really close
before
with, and I
you
think
even
we all
start action.
Me.
So
know you
John is
guys,
definitely
there's-
um,
And he'll figure it out.
Joe Vote.
yeah.
Joe Vote's also part of the brain.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say I think
Yeah.
it's a generational
And
thing
I
too.
would-
like
I would say
yeah, the older generation.
gonna
I
be
feel like there's
conflict that'll
definitely
rock.
like a stigma
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And I think there's different like churches too. Like you said, your church is really supportive. I feel like the church that I go to now is really like even the pastor has talked about like his anxiety and he's been to therapy and stuff like that. So I think that's really awesome. And
Yeah.
he talks about like real life things and nothing's like sweep it under the rug, act like it's not there. He like really addresses like real life problems that people are having.
Yeah.
So I think that's really awesome. But I think other churches like the one we grew up in definitely has
Yeah.
a stigma around it.
Well, I think like you had said earlier too, like
We need a structure.
mental health is
Really, like
just
he's
like
just one of those
physical
selfless.
health and
Yeah,
God gave us
He's-
medicine and
like
doctors.
he's a
and
selfless
all that
person
stuff, so why
Yeah.
would we not
with a great work
use
ethic,
It?
Yeah.
He never said like
and there's
you have to just.
that's like the best
pray
combination to
and
have
you
on
have
it.
to just do this and
Stranded
this
on an
and
island.
You'll be fine. And
Right.
you
Is it
have
bad
to do
that
it
I
harder
don't know
if
if
you're
the-
not feeling better.
Right.
He literally never.
I
Just
know. I don't
nowhere
know
in the
why,
Bible
I
that
don't know
it says
why
that.
it's like that.
So
like,
yeah.
why is it so like looked down on?
Mhm. And like you can pray and believe that he's gonna get you through it, while
And you
also
can also go to
into
yeah.
therapy.
It's not
or
like you have to do
being
one or
on
the other.
medication. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And like just because you're in therapy doesn't mean like you don't have enough faith.
Right.
That's like the
and I've
dumbest
also
thing
heard
ever.
a lot of the whole like I think there's also a stigma around the therapist or the psychologist or psychiatrist themselves from the
Yeah.
church because it's like, well, what if they're not giving you biblical advice?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, that's not their job. That's the pastor's job to give you biblical advice. And
Yeah.
that's your Christian friend's job to give you biblical advice. Their schooling is in
Right.
like psychology and how
Yeah.
the brain works and like
too strange, but my grandfather every Thanksgiving would always do ham with cream cheese and a scallion and then roll it up and make like an hors d'oeuvre out of it. And like some people don't really like that or think of it, but
right.
I always consider that a weird
Yeah.
food combo that I absolutely
Because like
love.
you've said before, like you might not get healed here, but eventually, when you're in heaven, you will be. But you're not going to be stupid now. And yeah.
I'll go with one that I know a lot of people are grossed out by, and I don't eat this often. I have eaten it, and I do enjoy it. But have you ever had a peanut butter pickle sandwich?
No, but I would try it.
They're pretty good. I like those. I also, for me, weird food. I put hot sauce, like, Mexican hot sauce on everything.
And he puts
Correct.
ketchup on eggs.
Exactly.
Sometimes scrambled eggs.
Ew.
Sometimes.
You're a gross person.
It says that you salsa.
Jeez.
Um,
No, question over. I'm done with this.
hey, it says
You, I don't like your boyfriend.
I think you started meds in like March of 2022
Sure.
and then therapy in April of 2022. 2022?
Hold, please.
It's only been a year.
it's not.
Over a little over a year. Yeah. You were only on the meds for like a
I've
month or
ever
two
told
before
you-
started therapy.
Have I ever told you that I wanted to make a tissue company exclusively for Christians called Sneezes for Jesus? Sure.
The old Turks and Caicos vacation probably would have been much better if he was on meds then.
No comment.
That just reminded me of something.
Hey, I shared them with all the ants. You
You
gotta
were
got
the
some
last
for
one
me.
Pastor Matt was
Oh, he had
talking about
Xanax.
how they
Oh.
put
He
that
just needed
cloth
more
over.
than that.
Yeah.
So
I think that was actually
they
one
actually
of
went
your
to
turning
Arthur,
points
New
where you
York,
were
where
like,
Lexi's sister
I don't
works.
want to live the rest of my life.
And
like
they weren't
this.
describing it
Because he was
like Sue started
hot mess
describing
for
it as
that whole
Pastor
trip.
Matt's prayer cloth that heals people. And if you say that to a non-Christian or somebody who could explain it, I was like, why do they have a cloth that? Why does your pastor have a cloth that heals people? And then we were like, It's.
Or like, please don't
I was like,
describe it that way.
it's like they can't say that.
Yeah. Okay.
Where do we go from here? How do we disappear?
Shout out to Pillar.
Yeah, I love Pillar was. Let's go. Let's go, Pillar.
Right.
Pillar barely know her.
Pillar.
Yeah.
Mhm. And your life
Oh,
together.
no doesn't mean no. It means find a different way.
Yeah.
Crosby quietly smiling in the background. Good job, Aaron.
It's not rape if you yell surprise.
So this one, I feel like this is an easy question for me.
Okay. Was
I
it?
feel like it's gonna be an easy question.
Yeah.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Would you rather go
But you're
back
also
to
still.
everything you know now, or be given $100 million right now?
What would you pick? Okay, me too. I thought you were gonna try and be like, well, you could, but like I
Third grade and invent the Apple iPhone.
I don't know how to do that. I don't know any of the lottery numbers from.
Yeah.
Right,
You
that's
know
the
what I
thing,
mean?
it's
Like
like
I don't know any of it. So I would
you
definitely
are,
take the
like,
100 mil.
Praying about it and like doing all that stuff, but you're still also doing
Through
the
my
physical
growing up
things that you
years,
need
maybe
to
made
because
some better decisions,
you can do
better
both.
life decisions, but I wouldn't be $100
Okay, that's my
Yeah.
cue.
million.
Time to go.
By the following year, you could have so much more money than 100 million. So
I think for me, I don't think there's been anything like
Invest the
anyone
rest of my money
particularly
and make me more
that I know of. I mean, I
Correct,
know of
correct,
people who
correct,
are very
correct.
open about
that's what I would do.
how they.
I'm going to combine the
anxiety
two questions after that.
real.
One thing you
Upload,
like about
which
you
I'm not
really
saying it
enjoy
is,
about
but-
podcasting, and one thing.
But thankfully, I don't think I've had
My
anyone-
dislike.
like anyone
editing.
who's ever said anything negative. Is
I
someone
hate
I don't
editing.
really care about.
Okay.
Whether it's like
See, for me,
I don't know, but thankfully none of my like friends are.
because so far
Family.
I've not had to.
I actually feel like the more people that I've told about it, the more that they're like, oh yeah, like I've actually been dealing with this, or like I've been
Yeah.
thinking about going to therapy, and I'm like,
I feel like
just
a
goes to
lot. I
show,
feel
like-
like
Is that the
so
only thing
many
that stops you?
people
I'll
are
give
you
you
like,
just
the key
like
to the house.
literally.
You can just come and go.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like you
Yeah.
literally don't know who's going through
Right.
it until you finally like open up about it, and they're like, oh yeah, like me too, and I'm like,
what's,
oh,
what's the statistic, Zach?
Coming up with questions like it's just fun. I'll sit and talk and 50% of adults ages 18 to 24 think about things, ask questions about things, learn.
50%.
Enjoy it. The one
That's
thing I
crazy.
don't like about, or I really dislike about podcasting so far is that I haven't gotten to
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. One of
Yeah, I'm
us
still
in
mad
this
at you
room.
about that.
or all of us.
It was like 2 days later and you're like, hey, the house is full. I was like, oh.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
But I feel like
Blame your neighbors,
just
jeez.
I will.
practicing
Didn't like him
over and
anyways.
over and over again, like the right way
That's not true.
to think, and like going to therapy
Where are
and
we going from
talking
here?
to people. I feel like for me personally, my anxiety is like 120% better than it used to be.
So this,
Like,
I'm interested.
yeah.
Do you prefer
And I,
funny
since I've been going to therapy and stuff too, I'm able to like recognize things too. Like I was actually thinking about this the other day. You had sent me something to look at, and for whatever reason, I was so like. Sometimes when I have to like make
I-
decisions on
I
things,
would
I get
assume
so overwhelmed that I'm like,
that
I
we
just
like
can't
to
even look
do.
at it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
It's called decision fatigue.
it was my phone. That was one
I think
thing. There was
both are
something else a different
necessary.
day.
Yeah.
And I
I enjoy
had
different
recognized,
things
like, that
about
happens
both.
a lot, and I was like, I feel like this is like one of
But
my anxiety things.
I
It's, like,
enjoy the more
when I'm already
serious
anxious about something,
ones
you add like the littlest thing, and I'm just like, I
yeah.
can't deal with it.
because it
Yeah.
more aligns with my goal of
Decision fatigue.
wanting to reach more people and help more people and support more people. And then me as a person, I just enjoy being funny and doing funny things. So that's the only
Ooh,
reason why
yep.
I'd pick the other one.
Yep.
I'm dope and I do dope things. That's great. But probably the funny ones for that reason.
So it's
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, though. I like that. But expect more of both for years to come.
Just get help.
Yeah.
Go to therapy. Talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to keep on singing, like, comment, subscribe, buy our merch, share us.
And buy me a coffee. Man.
Yeah.
We just I'm not going to say anything that I just thought
Yeah.
of.
Especially if you don't have anxiety.
Oh,
or
look
don't
at
think you have anxiety,
my wife sent in
you
another
have
question.
literally no idea like what it feels like.
What is it
So
like to
don't
have
try
me as
to,
your
like,
executive producer? And then
there's
not
no way
a
for you to, like,
question,
put
but
yourself in
continues to
shoes.
say,
Yeah,
you'd have a lot
exactly.
more
So just
typos in
don't
your
try to
posts
be like,
without me.
"Oh,
Well, I
why?"
still have typos
'Cause
in
you're
my
never
posts, so
gonna
you need to
understand
do
it
a
if
better
you aren't
job.
going through it.
And he puts your questions together, multiple questions into one. So,
I would say it's nice to have you as a helping hand, an executive producer, but I mean, you could do more for the podcast if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I do think she has a voice of reason at some point.
Like
Yeah.
that time when last week I had to call you to see if I could leave something in an episode
like if
because she told me I
you-
couldn't, and then you
I
agreed
feel like
with
you
her.
can also,
so
like,
I lost on a
like,
2-1 vote.
Check in with with other people.
I don't
'cause you
remember what it
know
was, but I
other
know
people
it
are
was
going through.
hilarious.
Like, you don't know if other people are having anxiety. Just ask questions. Make sure your friends are okay. You know,
Yeah.
check in.
Oh well.
Yep.
That kind of stuff too.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, like, this has been a
1,
therapy
2,
session
3,
and
4, 5, 6, 7.
but I am very happy that.
Man, you've missed crossing somehow, haven't you?
I mean, you're the executive producer, Lex. You don't have a choice, but Sarah, thank you
Oh well.
for taking time.
Thanks for having me.
Very
Let
busy
me see.
schedule, to talk with us about it. Something that is usually considered dark and looming cloud that like people
What are,
just feel
I
they
think
have to
this
live with.
is a good
Hopefully
Yeah.
somebody hears this and know that you don't have to live with it.
What
So
are
yeah, if anybody's listening, either when
each
it
of your
first comes
dreams
out
for
or
the podcast?
months or years down the road, and you're struggling with anything that we talked about or anything in general.
Again, if we take dream at its,
Either if I can't,
I don't know, at face value, like a dream is a dream, right? Like, that's supposed to be big. Obviously, be famous and be able to travel around and
people
do like
smarter
live
than you?
podcast shows.
Wow.
If anybody who does something like this, yeah, if anybody is doing something like this and they tell you that's not a dream of theirs for free or losing money on it, who wouldn't want to continue to do it and make a lot of money while they're doing it?